The moment they decided to go against you, they unknowingly signed their own downfall. A person can fight another person, but no one wins a war against the universe. They should have picked an easier target. That's the harsh truth they're now waking up to. The moment they set their sights on you, they stepped into a fight they were never equipped to win. This was never just about jealousy. This was about them trying to destroy something they couldn't understand, something greater than them, something the universe itself protects. And now, they're not just fighting you, they're fighting forces beyond their control. The truth? Envy breeds destruction. Instead of fixing themselves, they chose to sabotage you. Instead of working on their own growth, they wasted their energy plotting against someone they could never compete with. And that's the irony. Jealousy makes people self-destruct. They thought they were tearing you down, but all they did was set fire to their own existence. Before we go deeper, make sure to like and subscribe to help spread this message to more chosen ones. Every time you engage, you send a signal to YouTube that this is a message worth pushing forward. More chosen ones need to wake up, and your support makes that happen. Now, let's get one thing straight. You were never alone in this fight, but some of you have been doubting your own power, questioning your own worth, feeling isolated like no one understands you. That stops today. Because the universe doesn't make mistakes when it chooses someone. If you're here, it's because you're built differently. And the fact that you've been targeted, that's not a coincidence. It's proof of your power. They never ran across a person like you before. That's why they're obsessed. That's why they're plotting. That's why they're desperate. They saw something in you that scared them, a light that exposed their darkness, a strength that made their weakness unbearable. You weren't just another person passing through their lives. You were a disruption, a walking reminder of everything they lack. And instead of facing their own shortcomings, they did what weak people do. They attacked. They gathered in secret, whispering, scheming, running in circles, trying to find ways to break you. They formed their little committees, their group chats, their desperate attempts at control. But here's where they messed up. They forgot who they were dealing with. They thought you were just like them, but you're not. You're chosen. And when the universe chooses someone, that person carries a power that haunts their enemies. It follows them like a shadow, suffocates them in their sleep, turns their own thoughts against them. They think about you more than they think about themselves. That's why they watch you so closely, why they study your every move, why they mimic what they once mocked. And the more they focus on you, the faster they collapse under the weight of their own bitterness. But let's talk about you for a second, because some of you have been slipping. You've been doubting your own light, questioning your own worth, acting like you're alone in this. That stops now. How dare you second-guess the power that was placed in you? How dare you act like the universe made a mistake in choosing you? Do you know how rare you are? Do you realize that everything you've been through has only made you stronger? The reason you've been under attack isn't because you're weak. It's because you're powerful beyond measure. And the people who tried to bring you down, they're now learning the hard way that messing with the chosen comes at a price. They were never fighting you. They were fighting the universe itself. And the universe, it never loses. So let them scramble. Let them panic. Let them sit in the wreckage of their own envy while you keep rising. Because in the end, their biggest mistake wasn't just coming for you. It was believing they ever stood a chance. And now, let's break this down step by step. Because if you're truly chosen, you'll feel the pull to stay until the very end. The ones who tried to bring you down, they made a mistake they can't take back. Drop the number 777 in the comments if you're ready to witness their downfall unfold. Let's get started. Number 1. They chose the wrong battlefield, and now they're paying the price. A fool's biggest mistake is thinking they're smart enough to outplay the universe. But when the universe moves, it doesn't warn, it destroys. They thought you were like everyone else, easy to read, easy to break, another pawn they could manipulate. They assumed they had the upper hand, that their whispers, their schemes, and their childish games would be enough to take you down. But they weren't just playing with you. They were playing against the system itself. And now, that system is turning against them. Because here's what they never understood. You weren't chosen by accident. The universe doesn't move at random, and it sure as hell doesn't waste its energy protecting just anyone. You carry something rare, an energy, a force, a presence that disrupts weak minds. And that's exactly why they targeted you. They don't hate you because you're weak. They hate you because you remind them of their own insignificance. And that's the truth they'll never admit. They couldn't stand the way you move through life, the way obstacles don't break you, the way you carry yourself with a quiet power that doesn't need validation. It drove them crazy. They watched you from the shadows, studying you, hoping to find a weakness, hoping to find something, anything to use against you. And when they couldn't find it, they decided to create it. They thought their lies, their group chats, their passive-aggressive tactics would be enough. They thought that if they threw enough dirt, something would stick. But what happens when the storm they created doesn't shake you? What happens when the target they picked doesn't react the way they expected? That's when panic sets in. That's when the tables turn. See, they underestimated the depth of your being. They only saw the surface, the way you stayed quiet, the way you didn't respond to their petty games, the way you carried yourself with a type of grace they mistook for weakness. But what they didn't see, what they couldn't see, was everything that made you indestructible. They didn't see the nights you had to rebuild yourself from nothing. They didn't see the battles you've already fought, the losses, the heartbreak, the betrayals that taught you to be 10 steps ahead. They didn't see the quiet moments where you sharpened your mind, where you became unshakable. And now they're realizing too late that they messed with the wrong one. Because the truth is, you don't move on their time. You move on your own. You don't respond to their nonsense because they don't deserve a response. You've seen people like them before, weak souls feeding off negativity, desperate for control. But you're not their usual target. You're something else entirely, and that's what's breaking them right now. They thought they could control the outcome, that their usual tricks would work, that you would crumble like the rest. But when the universe aligns itself to protect someone, there is no enemy strong enough to break them. What happens when you mess with a force greater than yourself? You lose. They could have picked anyone else, but they went after the one person who was never going to fall. And now, they're stuck watching every move they made backfire, one by one, because what they sent out is coming back around. And this time, it's aimed directly at them. Number 2, your presence is their biggest nightmare, because it exposes everything they're running from. You never needed to attack them. Your existence alone was enough to unravel everything they pretend to be. You didn't go looking for enemies. You didn't ask for their jealousy, their gossip, or their obsession with trying to tear you down. All you did was walk into the room, be yourself, and exist the way you always have. But that was enough to trigger something deep inside them, something ugly, something they can't escape. See, weak people survive by avoiding themselves. They spend their lives dodging self-reflection, covering their doubts with fake confidence, and surrounding themselves with enablers who won't challenge them. They're addicted to comfort, to the illusion of control, to the idea that they're better than they actually are. And then you came along, unapologetic, self-assured, untouchable in ways they could never be. And that shook them to their core, because you weren't just another person passing through their lives. You were a mirror, a reflection of everything they lack, a reminder of the work they refuse to do. And rather than facing that uncomfortable truth, rather than admitting that they could be doing better, they did the only thing weak-minded people know how to do. They turned their insecurity into an attack. But let's be clear, this was never about you. They don't actually hate you. They hate the way you make them feel about themselves. Your confidence reminds them of their self-doubt. Your success highlights their stagnation. Your authenticity makes their fakeness unbearable, even to themselves. And they can't handle it, because deep down, they know that all the excuses they tell themselves, the stories they've built to justify their mediocrity, collapse the moment you walk in the room. But instead of using that discomfort as motivation to grow, they weaponize it. So they obsess over you. They study your every move, dissect your words, desperately searching for a flaw they can exploit. They mock you, spread rumors, twist your intentions, anything to convince themselves and others that you're not as great as you seem. Because if they can tear you down, maybe they won't have to feel so small. But here's where their plan backfires. Because jealousy doesn't build, it destroys. And every ounce of energy they've spent trying to break you has only weakened them. They're caught in a trap of their own making, burning time, effort, and emotional energy obsessing over you while you continue to rise. That's why their hatred is so relentless. It's not about them wanting to see you fail. It's about them needing you to. Because if you stumble, maybe, just maybe, they can silence that voice in their head, reminding them of their own inadequacies. But they won't. Because that voice was never about you. You just became the mirror they were too afraid to look into. And that's why they'll never win. Because no matter how hard they try to break you, they will always be fighting the wrong battle, the one within themselves. Number 3, they call it hate, but their obsession is just misplaced worship. You don't study someone you don't care about. You don't mimic someone you don't admire. You don't obsess over someone who doesn't matter. Their hate is just admiration wrapped in denial. They claim they despise you, yet your name stays on their lips. They watch you from the shadows, dissect your every move, react to things that have nothing to do with them. They bring you up in conversations like you signed a contract to live in their heads. They can't stop watching. It's a strange kind of obsession, one they'll never admit to. They tell themselves it's hate, that it's resentment, that it's justified. But if they truly didn't care, why are they so invested? Hate is loud, but real indifference? That's silent. People who don't care don't compare themselves to you. They don't track your progress, waiting for a moment of weakness. They don't stalk your moves, hoping to catch you slipping. But these people, they do. They always do. Because deep down, under all that bitterness, all that jealousy, all those petty games, they are drawn to you. You are the thing they secretly admire, the presence they can't ignore, the energy they can't match, but desperately wish they could. They set out to destroy you, but in doing so, they made you the center of their world. And that's the irony. They hate you, but they can't stop mimicking you. They steal your ideas, copy your words, mirror your energy. They try to one-up you in ways so obvious it's almost embarrassing. It's like they can't decide if they want to see you fail or become you. And here's the hard truth they'll never say out loud. They measure themselves against you because they know, deep down, you're the standard. They won't call it admiration. but their actions tell the truth. They watch you because they wish they had your resilience. They copy you because they wish they had your presence. They compete with you because they know if they don't, they'll be left behind. And this is where everything backfires on them, because obsession, whether it comes from love or jealousy, always elevates the person being obsessed over. While they're watching you, you're just living. While they're plotting, you're evolving. While they're stuck in their bitterness, you're rising. And the funniest part, they're fueling the very person they wanted to see fail. The more they fixate on you, the more they push your name, the more they unknowingly add power to your presence. They think their hate will take you down, but all it's doing is making you more untouchable, and eventually they'll have to face the truth, the real truth. You were never beneath them. You were always above. Number 4, they have the numbers, but you hold the power, and that's why they fear you. Weak minds need a crowd to feel strong, but true power walks alone and still shakes the room. They swarm together like insects, whispering, plotting, feeding off each other's insecurity like parasites, starving for validation. Alone, they are nothing, timid shadows that wouldn't dare stand against you without backup. But together they create the illusion of strength, hoping that numbers will make up for their lack of substance. It's all a numbers game for them, a desperate attempt to convince themselves that if enough of them believe the lie, it must be true, that if enough of them stand together, it somehow erases the reality that they're powerless as individuals. But real power doesn't come from numbers. Power comes from presence, from influence, from an energy that commands respect, even in silence. And that's exactly what you have. Their so-called unity isn't built on strength. It isn't built on genuine connection. It's built on shared weakness, on jealousy, on insecurity, on fear. They don't come together because they like each other. They come together because they need each other to justify their hate. They repeat the same tired narratives, feeding the lie, echoing it back and forth, hoping repetition will make it real. But it never does, because no matter how many of them there are, they are still just a collection of fragile individuals, masking their insignificance behind a crowd. And you don't need a crowd. You don't need validation. You don't need approval. You don't need a pack of cowards to make you feel powerful, because your strength isn't borrowed, it's built. It's carved from every battle you faced alone, every moment you had to stand your ground while the world tried to push you over. It's the type of power that doesn't need to be announced. It's felt. That's why they fear you. Because even when you stand alone, your presence is greater than all of them combined. Even with their numbers, they can't match your influence. Even with their whispers, they can't silence your voice. Even with their schemes, they can't erase your impact. That's why they need a group. That's why they cling to each other, because without their numbers, they are nothing. Their strength is an illusion, a fragile construct that shatters the moment they stand alone. But you are the force. You walk alone, yet your presence shakes the foundation beneath them. You don't need an army to make an impact. You are the impact. And when the dust settles, they'll come to realize the truth they've been avoiding all along. Numbers never guaranteed victory, because true power was always in the hands of the one who never needed the crowd to begin with. Number 5. They thought you were an easy target, until the universe showed them the cost. Weak people always assume silence is submission, until they realize they were never fighting just you. They were fighting the consequences of their own choices. They thought you were weak. They mistook your patience for fear, your silence for surrender, your grace for something they could take advantage of. They thought you were an easy target. And for a while, they convinced themselves they were winning. They whispered, they plotted, they threw stones from the shadows, believing you wouldn't strike back. But they never considered the consequences. Because the thing about people like them, they never think ahead. They act off impulse, driven by envy, believing they can attack someone chosen without repercussions. But the universe always collects its debts. And now they're learning the hard way. Every lie they spread is circling back. Every move they made against you is unraveling. Every trap they set is snapping shut on them. Because they weren't just messing with you. They were playing a game they didn't understand. See, they thought they were just attacking a person. But when someone is chosen, when someone carries a presence as powerful as yours, they aren't fighting an individual. They're fighting the system itself. And the system doesn't let injustice slide. They thought they could break you. Now they're the ones coming apart. They underestimated the power of universal balance. They didn't realize that whatever you send out, you have to receive. They spent their time wishing for your downfall, and now it's their own life crumbling beneath them. Because energy doesn't disappear, it returns. And this is the part where their regret starts to creep in. The same mouth that spoke against you, now it's dry from all the explanations they have to give. The same hands that tried to sabotage you, now they're trembling, desperate to fix the mess they created. The same mind that plotted against you, now it's consumed with paranoia, haunted by the reality they set into motion. They thought they could throw stones and walk away untouched, but there's no walking away from the consequences. And you never had to lift a finger. You never had to play their game. You stood still while the universe handled the rest. You kept moving forward, kept rising, while they spent their time chasing shadows, trying to control a battle they had already lost. Because you were never the easy target they thought you were. And now, the only thing left for them to do is sit in the ruins of their own making, watching as the very thing they wished for you becomes their own reality. Number 6. Their attacks didn't define you. They exposed themselves. A person's true nature isn't revealed when things are good. It's exposed in the way they treat those they envy. Their attacks were never about you. They were just a window into their own darkness. They thought their words would break you. They thought their lies would stick, their games would work, and their schemes would turn people against you. But what they didn't realize, every attack they launched didn't define you, it exposed them. Because here's the truth, people who are secure don't move like that. Stable people don't waste their time tearing others down. Confident people don't obsess over someone else's downfall. Strong people don't gather in circles whispering about someone they claim not to care about. Everything they did, everything they said, every move they made was a confession of their insecurity, a confession of their bitterness, a confession of the darkness they've been running from. And the irony, they tried so hard to make you look bad, but in the process, they revealed exactly who they are. See, they thought if they could paint you in a certain light, people would turn against you. But energy doesn't lie. People are watching. They see the desperation. They see the obsession. They see the way these people move. And they're realizing the truth. Because real ones know, when someone has to go out of their way to tear another person down, that says more about them than it ever could about their target. Their attacks were never a reflection of you. They were a mirror of everything broken inside them. And that's why you didn't have to fight back. That's why you didn't need to explain yourself. That's why you didn't need to engage in their nonsense, because they were always going to expose themselves in the end. And now they're the ones being questioned. Now they're the ones looking foolish. Now they're the ones struggling to explain why someone they hate lives rent-free in their mind. And you stayed silent and let the universe do what it does best, reveal everything in due time. Because real power isn't in proving yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Real power is standing firm and letting the truth unfold on its own. And now, the only thing left for them to do is watch as their own darkness swallows them whole, while you keep rising, untouched, unbothered, and completely out of their reach. Number 7, they can't replace you, and that's the root of their hate. You can copy the words, mimic the moves, even steal the image, but you can never replicate the energy, and that's what haunts them. They won't admit it, not to you, not to themselves, not to anyone. But if they had the chance to be you, to switch places, to carry what you carry, they'd take it in a heartbeat. Everything about you, the way you carry yourself, the way people naturally gravitate toward you, the way you exist with a presence that can't be ignored, is something they wish they had, but they don't, and they never will. And that's what eats them alive. See, their problem with you was never about what you did. It was never about something you said, or some imaginary slight they convinced themselves of. The truth is, you could have done nothing at all, and they still would have hated you. Because it was never about your actions. It was about your existence. You remind them of everything they are not. You embody the confidence they pretend to have. You carry a light they can't fake. And that realization, it's unbearable for them. So they react the only way weak people know how, by trying to tear down what they can't replace. They copy you while criticizing you. They steal from you while pretending they don't see you. They mock you while secretly wishing they were standing where you are. It's the ultimate contradiction. Because the truth is, they don't actually want you gone. They don't actually want you to fail. They want to be you. They watch you closely, not just to see you fall, but because they are trying to figure out the formula. How do you move like that? How do you keep winning despite their efforts? How do you remain unshaken when they throw everything at you? And most importantly, why can't they do it too? The answer, because it was never about what you do. It's about who you are. And that's the one thing they can't steal. They can copy your style, but they can't copy your essence. They can repeat your words, but they can't make them hit the same way. They can try to walk in your footsteps, but they'll always be 10 steps behind, because you're not just a product of aesthetics, luck, or imitation. You are the real thing. And that's why their hate will never fade. Because deep down, in places they refuse to acknowledge, they know the truth. They were never competing with you. They were competing with the emptiness inside themselves. And no matter how many times they try, no matter how many ways they scheme, no matter how much they plot, they will never be you. And that is the root of their hate. That is what will haunt them forever. And that is why, no matter how much noise they make, you will always win. Number 8, you are a living reminder of everything they will never be. You don't have to attack them. Your existence alone is enough to shake them. Weak people aren't threatened by words. They're threatened by the proof that someone like you exists. You don't just disrupt them, you expose them. Every time you walk into a room, every time you speak with certainty, Every time you move like someone who knows exactly who they are, you force them to confront their own mediocrity. They see it, they feel it, and they hate it. Because you don't need what they need. You don't seek validation. You don't ask for permission. You don't wait for approval. Meanwhile, they remain trapped. Trapped in their own self-doubt. Trapped in a cycle of insecurity. Trapped in a reality where they will always settle for less because they're too afraid to demand more. Your very existence proves that the limits they live under, they're self-imposed, and that realization, it's unbearable for them. Because deep down, they know they could have done more. They know they could have worked harder. They know they could have built something real. But instead, they wasted their energy watching you. And now they can't stand the reflection you cast back at them. See, when you're truly powerful, you don't have to do anything to make people uncomfortable. Just being who you are is enough. You show them their wasted potential. You remind them of the discipline they never had. You make them feel the weight of every excuse they've ever made. And instead of using that feeling as motivation to change, they do what weak people always do. They attack the thing that exposes them. They gossip. They mock. They scheme. They wait for you to fall so they can convince themselves that you were never that special to begin with. But here's what they don't realize. You were never competing with them. You weren't moving for validation. You weren't chasing attention. You weren't living for their approval. You were simply existing in your truth. And that is why they will never be able to replace you. Because what you have can't be stolen. It can't be copied. It can't be imitated. It's earned. And that's why no matter how many of them gather, no matter how much noise they make, no matter how much effort they put into trying to bring you down, they will always fail. Because your presence isn't just something they dislike. It's something they will never escape. A reminder, a contrast, a truth they refuse to face. And that's what will haunt them forever. Number 9, their entire strategy is built on fear, not strength. Real power stands alone. Fake power hides in the shadows, schemes in secret, and moves in fear because it knows it can't win in the light. They pretend they're in control. They act as if they're plotting, they're whispering, their carefully crafted lies are a sign of intelligence, of power, of dominance. But real strength doesn't operate like that. If they were truly strong, they wouldn't need to scheme. If they were truly confident, they wouldn't need to manipulate. If they were truly secure, they wouldn't need to tear you down just to feel bigger. But they do. Because their entire strategy is built on one thing: fear. They don't move against you because they're strong. They move against you because they're afraid. Afraid of your presence. Afraid of your potential. Afraid of what you could become if they didn't try to stop you first. And that's why they don't play fair. See, strong people don't need to deceive, manipulate, or gang up on others to win. Strong people focus on themselves, build their own path, and move in silence, not secrecy. There's a difference. Silence is confidence. Secrecy is fear. And these people, they're terrified. Because no matter what they do, no matter how much they scheme, no matter how many people they try to turn against you, they know deep down you are already above them. And that realization is unbearable. So they scramble. They twist stories. They create drama. They throw distractions in every direction, not because they are in control, but because they are losing it. Because they know if they didn't move against you, if they didn't plot and manipulate, if they didn't try to shake you, you would outgrow them, you would surpass them, you would become everything they fear. And here's the worst part for them. You already have. That's why they hate you. That's why they need to move in numbers. That's why they can't just leave you alone. Because if they did, they would have to face the truth that they were never your equals to begin with. And that's what their fear is really about. Because deep down, they know you don't need tricks. You don't need schemes. You don't need to play dirty. You just need to be who you are, and that alone is enough to make them crumble. Number 10, you don't need to retaliate. Their lies will collapse on their own. A lie is a house of cards, built fast, designed to impress but always doomed to fall. And when it does, the only thing left standing will be the truth. They expected a reaction. They wanted a fight. They thought if they pushed you hard enough, spread enough lies, created enough chaos, you would break, or at the very least, you'd engage. Because that's what they need. They need your energy. Without it, they have nothing. Their entire existence revolves around trying to drag you into a battle you never signed up for. They provoke, they manipulate, they twist narratives, all with the goal of getting you to respond. Because the moment you engage, they win. They don't need to be right. They don't even need to make sense. All they need is to pull you down to their level. That's the game. And they've played it before. They've seen how people react when pushed, how anger makes even the strongest people look unstable, how frustration can be used as proof that the lies were true all along. They count on that. They throw dirt, waiting for you to throw it back, so they can point at you and say, "See, look how dirty they are." But here's what they never considered. What happens when you refuse to play? What happens when you don't react? What happens when you don't give them what they need? What happens when you let them spin their web of lies, knowing full well that it's a trap they'll eventually walk into themselves? See, lies require effort. They need maintenance. They need constant reinforcement. They need to be fed, defended, and explained over and over again. But the truth? The truth stands on its own. It doesn't need a defense. It doesn't need approval. It doesn't need you to fight for it. It just is. And no matter how much they twist, no matter how many people they try to convince, no matter how carefully they craft their deception, eventually it all collapses. Because that's the thing about liars. They always take it too far. They get reckless. They contradict themselves. They forget the version of the story they told last time. And before long, the mask slips. People start noticing the inconsistencies. People start questioning their motives. People start seeing the desperation beneath the performance. And suddenly, the ones who tried so hard to destroy your reputation, they're the ones exposed. Because while they were busy fabricating stories, you were just living. While they were manipulating, you were just moving forward. While they were wasting their energy on you, you were investing yours into something bigger. And that's why they'll lose. Because a lie can only last for so long. Eventually, it collapses under the weight of its own deception. Eventually, the people they convinced will start to see through it. Eventually, the truth will rise, and when it does, you won't even have to lift a finger. And that's what makes you different from them. You never needed to retaliate. You never needed to stoop to their level, because you knew something they didn't. The truth always wins. It may take time, it may take patience, but in the end, truth is the only thing that can stand without effort, without maintenance, without fear of being exposed. And when that moment comes, when the walls of their deception cave in, when their own schemes turn against them, when the very people they fooled start looking at them with suspicion, you'll be exactly where you've always been, untouched, unbothered, and still standing. Because while they were busy trying to destroy you, you were busy becoming unstoppable. Number 11. They are on borrowed time, because fakeness always has an expiration date. A lie can only run for so long before the truth catches up, and when it does, it doesn't knock, it breaks the door down. They move like they're invincible, like they have it all figured out, like their little web of deception is too tight to unravel. But what they don't realize is that fakeness always has an expiration date. Nothing built on lies lasts forever. Nothing held together by manipulation stands the test of time. Nothing fueled by jealousy and insecurity ends in success. They've spent so much time pretending to be powerful, pretending to be in control, pretending their stories add up, that they've started to believe their own illusions. But here's the thing about illusions: they don't survive reality. And reality is creeping up on them fast. Because fake personas require constant maintenance, fake alliances need constant reassurance, fake power needs constant reinforcement. It's exhausting to keep up. And eventually, they will slip. They always do. Because when your foundation is built on deception, even the smallest crack can bring the whole thing crashing down. And right now, their cracks are starting to show. People are watching. People are noticing. People are starting to question the stories that once seemed believable. The same ones they fooled are now side-eyeing their every move. Why? Because energy doesn't lie. You can manipulate words, but you can't manipulate presence. You can fabricate stories, but you can't fabricate authenticity. You can gather a crowd, but you can't create true respect. And that's what's killing them now. They thought they had control. They thought their alliances were solid. They thought the people backing them would always stand by their side. But loyalty built on lies is just temporary convenience. And the second those around them realize they've been manipulated, the second they recognize the truth, it's over. Because the thing about fake people, they turn on each other just as fast as they turn on their targets. They aren't bonded by real loyalty. They aren't connected through genuine respect. They aren't standing together because of truth. They are only united by a shared enemy. And once that enemy, you, refuses to fall, refuses to break, refuses to play their game, they have nothing left holding them together. So they start to unravel. They start to blame each other. They start to cannibalize their own group, turning their fake loyalty into real betrayal. Because deep down, none of them actually trust each other. And why would they? They know the truth. They know that if someone is willing to lie, manipulate, and scheme to take one person down, they will do it to anyone. And now they're looking at each other, wondering, who's next? And that's where the collapse begins. Because once doubt sets in, once people start realizing the stories don't add up, once the illusion starts to break, there's no stopping the downfall. One by one, the masks slip. One by one, the alliances crumble. One by one, they turn into exactly what they tried to make you look like: weak, isolated, and exposed. Because the reality is, they were always the ones on borrowed time. Their power was never real. Their influence was never solid. Their control was always an illusion. And now, time is running out. The very people they manipulated are starting to wake up. The lies are becoming too heavy to carry. The alliances are becoming too fragile to maintain. The deception is becoming too obvious to ignore. And when the house of cards finally collapses, they'll have nothing left to hide behind. No fake supporters, no false narratives, no one left to protect them from the consequences of their own actions. Just the wreckage of their own self-inflicted downfall. And you never had to lift a finger. Because while they were busy trying to orchestrate your destruction, they were unknowingly setting up their own. Because fakeness always has an expiration date, and theirs just ran out. Number 12. Their greatest fear, you thriving in spite of them. Nothing haunts a hater more than watching you succeed, despite their best efforts to stop you. Every win you collect is another reminder that they were never as powerful as they thought. They didn't just want you to fail, they needed you to. Because if you rise despite everything they threw at you, if you keep moving forward, keep shining, keep proving them wrong, then what does that say about them? It means their power was an illusion. It means their schemes were useless. It means their hate had no real effect. And that torments them. Because everything they've done, the whispers, the sabotage, the fake alliances, the backhanded comments, was supposed to break you. That was the plan. They needed you to crumble. They needed to see you fall. They needed proof that their efforts weren't wasted, that they had control, that they had some kind of influence over your destiny. But every time you win, you take that illusion away from them. Every success you achieve reminds them that they were never as powerful as they pretended to be. Every step forward you take exposes the reality that they were nothing more than background noise in your story. Every single time you refuse to quit, it proves that they failed. And failure is something they can't handle. Because their entire identity is built on tearing others down. They have no real foundation of their own. Their entire existence is based on comparison, on one-upping, on feeling superior to people they secretly admire. But what happens when the person they worked so hard to destroy refuses to break? What happens when you rise anyway? That's their worst nightmare. Because it means everything they poured their energy into was a waste. It means all the effort, all the gossip, all the plotting was pointless. And even worse, it means you were never really in competition with them to begin with. They spent all this time focused on you, trying to bring you down, trying to make sure you didn't get ahead. But you were never looking at them. You were never worried about them. You were never checking for them. You were never in their little game. You were too busy winning. And that's what kills them. Because deep down, they know they were never really a threat to you. All the energy they put into stopping you, you didn't even need to respond. You just kept moving. You just kept growing. You just kept thriving, in spite of them. And that is what they cannot handle. Because every win you collect forces them to ask a question they don't want to answer. If they spent so much time trying to destroy you, yet you're still thriving, then what does that say about them? It says they wasted their time. It says they were focused on the wrong thing. It says their power was never real. And that realization, it's unbearable for them. Because now they have to sit with the truth, a truth they tried so hard to avoid. That truth is this: your success has nothing to do with them. Your blessings were never in their hands. Your path was never something they could control. You were always going to win. And now they're stuck watching it happen, watching you rise, watching you thrive, watching you prove day after day that they were never as important as they thought they were. And that is the worst punishment of all. Because while you're out here winning, growing, elevating, they are stuck in the same cycle, stuck in the same mindset, stuck stuck in the same bitterness that made them come after you in the first place. And now they have to live with the fact that their biggest fear has come true. Because you didn't just survive, you thrived. And no amount of hate, no amount of jealousy, no amount of plotting can change that. You won, and they lost. Not because you fought back, but because you never needed to. Number 13, they are addicted to you, even if they hate you. You don't obsess over someone you don't care about. You don't stalk someone you've moved on from. You don't fixate on someone who doesn't matter. Their hate isn't just jealousy, it's an addiction. They'll swear up and down that they don't care, that you're irrelevant, that you don't matter, and yet you are always on their mind. They watch from the shadows, refreshing your page, tracking your progress like their life depends on it. They keep your name in their mouth, twisting your every move into something worth discussing. They pretend to be above it all, but their actions expose the truth. They are addicted to you, not because they admire you openly, not because they want the best for you, but because they can't look away. See, jealousy has a way of warping the mind. It starts as annoyance, as resentment, as irritation that someone like you exists outside of their control. But then it turns into obsession. Because nothing they do can make you disappear. Nothing they say can change the fact that you're still thriving. Nothing they plot can erase the presence you hold. And that's what keeps them up at night. They tell themselves they hate you. But if that were true, why are they still watching? Why do they monitor your moves like it's their full-time job? Why do they repeat your words, copy your style, try to match your energy? Why do they claim they want nothing to do with you, yet they know more about your life than some of your closest friends? Because they aren't just watching, they're studying. They dissect your success, looking for weaknesses, searching for an explanation that makes them feel better about why you are who you are. They tell themselves you got lucky. They convince themselves you're undeserving. They spread rumors to make sense of why you keep winning while they remain stagnant. But deep down, in the places they refuse to acknowledge, they know the truth. You have something they don't. An energy they can't match. A presence they can't shake. A power that makes their jealousy feel like a full-time burden. And that's why they can't stop. They don't hate you as much as they hate how much they can't ignore you. It eats away at them. It turns their days into an endless cycle of comparison. It turns their nights into restless attempts to understand why they're so fixated on someone they claim to despise. Because deep down, they don't want you to fail. They want to be you. They study your confidence, hoping to replicate it. They mimic your moves, hoping to find the secret formula. They analyze your wins, hoping to learn how to recreate your success. And that's the ultimate irony. The very people who hate you the most are the ones keeping you relevant. They spread your name more than your supporters do. They keep your presence alive more than you ever could on your own. They push your influence further, all while trying to erase it. And the funniest part? You don't even have to do anything. Just by existing, you trigger something inside them that they can't escape. And that's the real reason they hate you. Not because you've done anything to them, not because you've wronged them in some way, not even because they truly believe you don't deserve success. They hate you because they can't break free from their obsession with you. And that's their prison. Because while they waste their time tracking your every move, you're too busy living your life to even notice. They are addicted to your existence. And you don't even need them. And that's what hurts them the most. Number 14. They wanted you broken. but now they have to watch you become unstoppable. They didn't just want to see you struggle, they wanted to see you give up. They wanted to see you doubt yourself, shrink into nothing, and prove them right. But instead, you did the one thing they never expected. You became unstoppable. Let's be clear, this was never just about them disliking you. Their goal was never just to throw shade, talk behind your back, or spread a few lies. That wasn't enough for them. No, they wanted to break you. They wanted you doubting yourself. They wanted you questioning your worth. They wanted you so drained, so exhausted, so mentally defeated that you would just fade away. Because in their minds, that was the only way they could win. They weren't satisfied with just seeing you struggle. They weren't content with just watching you go through hard times. They needed to see you fold. They needed to know that their words, their actions, their sabotage had power over you. Because if they could break you, it would prove them right. Right about their jealousy, right about their insecurities, right about why they dedicated so much time to trying to destroy you. They needed to see you fail, because your failure would justify their bitterness. But instead, you rose. You refused to shrink. You refused to disappear. You refused to let their hate dictate your destiny. And now they have to watch you become unstoppable. That's the part they weren't prepared for, because in their heads they had already written your downfall. They had already planned out your collapse, already imagined the moment where they could sit back, laugh, and say, "See, I told you they wouldn't make it." But that moment never came. Instead, every time they looked up, you were still standing. And not just standing, thriving. Every time they counted you out, you came back stronger. Every time they tried to throw obstacles in your path, you turned them into stepping stones. Every time they thought they had drained you of your energy, you found more within yourself than they ever imagined. And now they have no choice but to witness the reality they never wanted to accept. They didn't stop you. They didn't break you. They didn't take anything from you. All they did was expose themselves. And all you did? You kept going. See, the biggest mistake they made wasn't underestimating you. It was believing they had the power to control your destiny. But your path was never in their hands. Your success was never dependent on their approval. Your growth was never tied to their acceptance. Your future was never something they had the ability to erase. And now, that realization, it's haunting them. Because while you're out here elevating, succeeding, and becoming everything they swore you never would, they're still in the same place. Still bitter, still stuck. Still waiting for a downfall that will never come. They wanted you to crumble, but now they have to watch you rise. They wanted you to disappear, but now they have to watch you stand taller than ever. They wanted you to doubt yourself, but now they have to watch you own your power completely. And that is the ultimate defeat. Because they didn't just lose the battle, they lost their illusion of control. They spent all that time hoping, waiting, obsessing over your failure, and for what? To end up exactly where they started, bitter, stagnant, powerless. And you became unstoppable. Not because they let you, not because it was easy, not because they gave up on trying to bring you down, but because you never needed them to stop in order to keep going. You never needed their validation. You never needed their support. You never needed them to believe in you. You believed in yourself. And that's why you won. Because while they wasted their time trying to destroy you, You were too busy becoming everything they feared you would be. And now, the truth is undeniable. They never had the power to stop you. Every attack, every scheme, every attempt to break you only fueled your rise. While they stayed trapped in their bitterness, you became everything they feared, unstoppable. If this message resonated with you, like, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to claim your power. Share this with another chosen one who needs this reminder, because the more we rise, the weaker their grip becomes. Your success is inevitable. Let them watch, let them envy, but most importantly, keep thriving.